Hi folks, we're Tassus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about this is a very disturbing trend and it's happening all over the Western world. So I'm pushed by the globalists and part of the globalist program to undermine and subvert the legal systems of the West. But I was a little while ago, I was at a function where that was shot through with lawyers and judges and magistrates and all this sort of thing. And I think I might have been the only person there who wasn't a lawyer. Now, what sort of struck me straight away was many of these people either were or believed they were bullied and oppressed as children or young adults. And they come from places or situations, so the lesbians, the gays, the brown-skinned people, this sort of thing, they believe they were oppressed. Now, you can debate, was there real oppression or have they been radicalized through the education system, university in particular, but radicalized into believing they were oppressed? Did you come first? Did you get first prize in the painting competition? And you didn't? Well, you've been oppressed. You've been oppressed by fucking Nazis. And you should get into the legal profession. You should get into law so you can exact vengeance on these fucking Nazis that oppressed you because you didn't get first prize in the Now, the extent of the bullying or whatever you want to call it, the oppression, and they've been given a structured format to believe they're oppressed. Whether they were oppressed, you can debate, but they've been given a format to believe it. And so that they were encouraged, if not exhorted, to go into the law, because this would then be a shield against any further bullying or oppression. It gave them a means to again, exact vengeance on their oppressors. Now, there's a thing, there's something to be said for that, for a bunch of goons, come along and they're going to, I don't know, take your wallet or beat you up or something like that. And it's okay, do you want to talk to a judge? You want to go into a court of law and talk to a judge? Hey, tough guy. Hey, you want to do that? Let's see how tough you are when you're talking to the judge. Hey, that sort of thing. And then suddenly you find that, holy fuck, and they're gone. They remember, because people like that typically had been in court before, or at least been in trouble with the police before, and they think, no, I don't need this. So, but nonetheless, these judges and lawyers are drawn from classes of people who are very prone to believing and very easily encouraged to believe that they have been oppressed, LGBTQ, brown people, brown women, and all that sort of thing. So whereas once the law was the exclusive domain of white males, most of whom were straight, some were gay, and the ones that were gay were very much steeped in the idea of public service. But nonetheless, this has all changed. So when I go, this has been in recent times, when I graduated from senior high school, law, to study law, you had to get a high mark. It was just a few marks or a few points behind studying medicine, which I think was the highest grade or cut you could make. I think it was, you had to get a minimum, I'm going off the top of my head here, but you had to get a minimum of 85% to make it into medicine. And even this was sometimes higher. You had a whole lot of seriously bright people, in any particular year, the grade, which was like an auction system, there were 1,000 places, and whoever made the cut in that 1,000 people, that was then the grade. So if the grade was, if they were all bright kids and they got 90%, for example, then that was the cut. So it could vary a little bit, but not that much. And as I recall, law was the second cut, whereas medicine, the minimum was 85, in law it had to be 80, for example, to get into law. So there was automatically filtered out a lot of the lower quality people. Now, if you've got that ability to study hard, hit the books, bust your ass, or you've got a brilliant memory, mixture of both, you're very studious and great attention to detail, good memory, all that sort of thing, then you're much less likely, not that it's impossible, but you're much less likely to be drawn by the siren song of, you know what, you're an oppressed victim. Go and be a lawyer so you can get back at all those evil straight white males that oppressed you. That doesn't happen. There are just very few. Now, there were homosexual judges that, they'd been in boarding schools and they'd kind of started the homosexual journey then, but they were usually fairly careful about it and discreet. And if they heard a case that involved, say, straight guys against homosexuals, they would often quietly in background recuse them. Not always, but would recuse themselves and allow another judge to be more independently minded to hear the case. But if you looked at all the judges and all the leading lawyers, and in fact pretty much all the lawyers, certainly when I was younger anyway, they were all straight white males. Again, nearly all straight. They were all white anyway, male, and pretty much all straight, with some exceptions. And again, so were the leading attorneys and lawyers or barristers, as we call them in Australia. Barristers being the lawyer who argues in court. The idea of minorities getting into the law and those minorities believing that they're socially oppressed victims and eagerly getting into law, not for the purposes of practicing law, not for the purposes of looking at evidence and facts, none of that. They're there to get vengeance. They're there to get social justice. They're to use the law as a vehicle to, again, fantasize about all sorts of acts of revenge against their imagined oppressors. Now, but inherent in that, or as part of that, was that the grade for getting into law continually went downhill. So that law was then packaged in with sociology or the arts and this sort of thing. So now the if you like, the grading that you needed to get into law, even 40 years ago or so, that grading has now fallen to less than half what it was. So some very low IQ, lazy kids that couldn't pass an impartial, independent exam to save their lives, and who don't hit the books and who are very sloppy and lazy, and they now can become lawyers, and they're radicalised in with dreams of, again, revenge and vengeance against their imagined oppressors. Now, when you come from a low IQ class of people and you're, say, a recent migrant and this sort of thing, and you feel you're not being treated with the sort of respect that you believe you're entitled to or that you'd like, and the hot white chicks used to get all the hot guys and this sort of thing, then you've got a lot of problems there, a lot of psychological problems. So to give someone a job, especially on the government payroll, to give someone a job where they can act out their fantasies of vengeance against the host population, which is what's happening, is in itself a diabolical experiment in a road to self-destruction. But so anyway, so I'm in this dysfunction with these lawyers and judges, and I don't think there was a lawyer or a judge there that did not believe themselves to have been marginalised and bullied and oppressed when they were younger, and whether it be at school or as young adults or even at college, and they're there, they are in those jobs, and they still have the chip on the shoulder. No, not all of them, nearly all of them still have the chip on the shoulder. The women and the brown people in particular, not so much the white guy. There's a white guy that I think would be, he's probably bisexual, I would guess, and he, I think he genuinely tries to be impartial and apply the law, but nonetheless, he believes, I think he probably was actually, bullied quite badly. He's quite a small guy, slightly built, short, that he was bullied quite badly as a kid. And he imagines that he can be, like in a court case where if he gets a court where some straight white guy comes in, or anybody comes in where the guy's, got that bully, the school bully, schoolyard bully type sort of vibe about him, I wouldn't like. I don't think that guy would be doing too well in that judge. In a case heard by that judge. Should he recuse himself on those sorts of things? Well, there's certainly an argument for it. But looking at the women in particular and the brown people in particular, they all are nursing huge chips on their shoulders about that they were bullied or oppressed or not accorded the respect they think or couldn't get the hot dates that they wanted, or they're lesbians and they felt they were being marginalized for being lesbians, and this sort of thing. And these people now form the clear majority of the lawyers and the judges and the legal practitioners. This can also be the administrative staff in the law clerks and these sort of people in the courts. Pretty much all of the administrative staff and the law clerks are gay, lesbian, and at the cutting edge, the forefront of activism, so-called social justice activism. So the entire legal profession has been taken over by these people who believe that the law is there as a vehicle to induce or to force social change on society, because society is too full of Nazis and they won't allow the social change to take place. So we have to force it down their throats, and by misusing the law and the power of the state to do it. And they think they have a right to do it, these people. They don't think that it's the law and evidence and facts. Well, what are you talking about? We're here to bring social justice. We know that all straight white males are evil, fascist, Nazi, Hitler rapists. We know that. So what if the guy didn't do the rape? So what if it doesn't really matter? He comes from a class of oppressor people and we have to punish those motherfucking Nazis. So this is very much the view that they have. Perhaps not... not expressed as dramatically as I have just there, but nonetheless, this is it. Now, I want to take you back to the legal advisors and the people in Twitter before Elon Musk took it over. The people in Twitter who were part of, the very Orwellian named Trust and Safety Department, and there was an Indian chick there who, for reasons that I cannot fathom for the life of me, became the head of that trust and safety thing. And it was, as I understand it, it was her who decided that they should just arbitrarily, unilaterally close down the Twitter account of a sitting elected president of the United States. I mean, ponder that for a moment. We don't like him or his politics. We can just shut it down. Now, if that's not a misuse and abuse of power, I'm fucked if I know what is. But she was being interviewed by Gajah, whatever the fucking name was. She was being interviewed, and she's very chip on shoulder, very insecure, and should never have been given a job like that, in my view. And so she's talking about that she believes she was the victim of racism and was bullied when she was a child, like at school and so on. And so it's during that time, I'm paraphrasing here, these aren't her exact words, but during that time, she determined, well, I want to be a lawyer because people don't fuck with lawyers. I may be bullied now, but one day I'm going to be a lawyer and then you won't bully me anymore. And yeah, you fucking damn oppressors. So she goes into the law not because she wants to be a lawyer or she wants to apply the law or because she believes in the Constitution or facts and evidence and that justice should be equal for all. No, she doesn't want to get in for any of that. She's in there for revenge against her oppressors because it's her, you won't be able to bully me anymore because I'm a lawyer. Now, I would argue that's the wrong motivation. Now, whether or not she'd have been able to become a lawyer in the days when you had to get a top of the line pass in your grad, could she become a lawyer in a merit-based educational system? I very much doubt it. Can she become a lawyer in an affirmative action DEI setting? Well, of course. And she, as I understand it, became one. And then she got more DEI. And so why would you hire a young, brown, chip on shoulder, I'm going to get revenge on the world, somebody with a bullshit law degree? Why would you hire them to be head of trust and safety? Unless you intended for it to be the vehicle to, we have to stop the bullies and the oppressors. We have to fight the Nazis. Now, if you look at the other members of the trust and safety, certainly the ones that were publicly put out front, they were all people that believed they were bullied and oppressed by, you know, those evil straight white male society. I mean, you're in a white country, so, you know, in the United States in this case. And so they were all, some of whom had law degrees, so, but nonetheless, they were committed to fighting the bullies that they imagined, the bullying that they imagined had existed when they were children. So, or again, you know, school or young adults or whatever the case may be, you know, probably going on for longer, because a couple of the guys there were very, very, you know, overtly Queenie gay, and so they probably would have attracted more derision than somebody who was, you know, there are gay guys I know, and you wouldn't know they were gay. There are others that are extremely overt about it, and they complain that they are bullied and treated harshly, or you know, by others. Whereas the guys where you wouldn't know they were gay, you know, they don't have any of that. So being overtly and flamboyantly gay is obviously going to attract more attention, some of that being negative. So the idea it's other people's fault. Why don't you just not be so flamboyant about it? Maybe that might help. So, but looking at all these judges and lawyers in there, they pretty much, what struck me wasn't that there are people around who think that, but they are in now the clear majority. It's not like it's a 51-49. The clear majority are now people that lawyers, judges, etc., that believe they're oppressed. So that the law has been, or the practice of law, jurisprudence, the practice of law has been outrageously subverted, horribly subverted by intent. I would argue it's been intent, and lowering the bar so that low IQ, angry, chip on shoulder, you know, bitter people can now go and use the state as a vehicle to practice their own twisted visions and versions of vengeance is now omnipresent around the legal system, and it's a disaster. I mean, you see the same thing with the lawyers and prosecutors and so on that Trump's got rid of President Trump's got rid of in the United States. I mean, the number of them, you know, the brown lesbian women and this sort of thing. I mean, it's insane. And yet they're all DEI and affirmative action hires. None of them are there on the basis of merit. And that's a disaster for all of us. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback Channel. Thank you for listening.